Good morning. President Park Geun-hye meets with U.S. House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi, discussing issues from unification to historical issues involving Japan. The lifting of sanctions in exchange for giving up nukes. After 8 days of high-level negotiations between 6 world powers and Iran, an interim agreement is reached. 4 years after their debut, girl group FIESTAR has hit that breakthrough. Denny Hong heads to Hongdae for a special encounter. And the fermented vegetable dish that always holds a special place on a Korean meal. Jill McPherson has the zen of kimchi. On Korea Today, Friday, April 3rd, 2015.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
And a good Friday morning. Thank you for joining us on Korea Today. I'm Kim Young alongside Oh Jin-ju and Kim Min-jung. And just to give you a peek into the weekend, an event is going on you may not miss out on, or you may not want to miss out on, and that is a lunar eclipse that may be happening, or that will be happening in the evening.
Right, and it's an exciting natural phenomenon. And those of you who are not a science whiz, and I'm not one either, let me explain to you. If we can just stop the video for a second there. Oops, well, Young's the sun. And I'm the Earth, and Jinju over here is the Moon. And let's pretend we're in one line, and my shadow covers Jinju's part, all of Jinju. That's a total eclipse for you in layman's terms. And you know, it's an exciting phenomenon.
Right, and it's been almost 6 months since we saw the last total lunar eclipse here in Korea. But after tomorrow's event, you won't be able to see one in Korea until 2018, so you don't want to miss tomorrow's event.
You don't want to miss it, so do keep your eyes peeled for that blood moon this weekend. Let's get a check on the stories making headlines on this Friday morning. President Park Geun-hye has sat down with U.S. House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi, who's heading a 10-member bipartisan delegation to the country. Meeting with the U.S. official at the presidential office of Cheongwadae on Thursday, President Park thanked Washington for supporting Seoul's efforts towards a peaceful unification, saying bringing the two Koreas together is one solution in resolving the North Korean nuclear issue and its dire human rights situation. Pelosi welcomed the recent trilateral meeting among the top diplomats of Seoul, Beijing, and Tokyo, saying she wishes for the thorny issue of wartime sexual enslavement of women between Korea and Japan to be resolved soon. The U.S. official added she hopes that Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe will, quote, apologize in some format. Pelosi was the U.S. House Speaker in 2007 when the House of Representatives adopted a landmark resolution urging Tokyo to formally acknowledge, apologize for, and accept its historical responsibility.
South Korea has officially notified companies operating out of the inter-Korean Kaesong complex to go against Pyongyang's unilateral demand for a wage hike. Seoul's Unification Ministry sent an official letter to 124 South Korean firms operating in the zone, requesting they pay out wages at previous levels until a deal is reached between the two Koreas. The ministry also warned that companies complying with the raise could face administrative and legal penalties under the Inter-Korean Exchange and Cooperation Act. Seoul's official request comes just over a week before companies are set to pay March wages for some 53,000 North Korean employees on April 10th. North Korea unilaterally revised 13 labor regulations that include raising the minimum wage for its workers from roughly $70 to 74 beginning in March. Seoul has denounced this decision, saying the wage issue must be decided through bilateral discussions.
And at Korea's National Assembly, rival parties have agreed to take a two-track approach on discussions to reform the country's pension program for public officials. On Thursday, ruling and opposition party lawmakers decided to simultaneously run a special committee and a working-level body for public servant pension reforms starting this Friday. The agreement comes 4 days after talks were stalled due to differences on setting up the working-level group, and hopes are that discussions will now pick up speed. The political parties will extend the period of operation of the existing special committee from the originally set deadline of April 4th to May 2nd and fine-tune the details on working-level discussions as soon as possible. The public official pension scheme has been at the center of heated debate, with the president this week calling for the need to resolve the issue swiftly in the face of increasing costs to preserve the pension budget.
Good Friday morning. It's time to run through the front pages of your newspapers. Now, all the top stories this morning are business or economy related. We'll go ahead and begin with a look at 조선일보. This is about an international tourist zone that's being created across borders. And the headline says, hopes for tourism wave high in North Korea, China, Russia special zone. Now, since authorities in China's northeastern Jilin province vowed to create an international duty-free tourist zone in the border region with Russia and North Korea, the Chinese city of Hunchun has been filled with signboards in all the three languages, Korean, Chinese, and Russian, as you see in this image here. This tourist zone will lie along the Tumangang River and will include Hunchun, along with a 10 square kilometer area, respectively, in North Korea and Russia. Now, the infrastructure will be constructed by the three sides jointly participating in the project, and already the number of tourists and merchants has increased by some 20% in parts of the Chinese city, with higher expectations for more to come once development is in full swing. Meanwhile, we'll take a look at some news here on 동아일보, putting into perspective Korea's state of affairs compared to Japan's. And we're going to take a look at these two titles here. And they say, lack of interest in economy from Korean political sphere. Japan works together to build the economy. First, taking a look at these top sub-headlines. The paper says that the rival parties here in Korea seem to only be concerned with strategies to earn votes for the April 29th by-election, practically casting aside the handling of bills related to economic revitalization. Now, the Daily further criticizes the political sphere for leaving the pending issue of reforming the civil servants pension scheme unattended as well. Meanwhile, if we take a look at these sub-headlines, quite a different scene over in Japan. It seems the paper says Tokyo has been pushing for pro-business policies of easing regulations, which have created a rise in investment on top of wage increases in the business circles. It also seems that household expenditure in Japan, as well as its stock market and housing market, have all been taking a favorable turn. And going to some more business news here on our business dailies, taking a look at this here on the Korea Economic Daily first. And this is regarding Hyundai and Kia Motors. The header reads, Hyundai and Kia Motors sales hit record high in the U.S. The Hyundai Automotive Group said yesterday that its U.S. sales rose to an all-time high in March on the back of aggressive marketing tactics and a rebound in the world's largest automobile market. As a result, the combined U.S. market share of Hyundai Motor and Kia Motors jumped to 8.7% last month from 7.7% in February. And the rosy performance coincides with Chairman Jung Mong-gu's visit to the U.S. last month, where he toured the group's U.S. sales headquarters, urging employees there to make every effort to boost sales. And you will be hearing details regarding the image of the 2015 Seoul Motor Show later from Son Mi-sorang, so do tune in for that. We'll go on to the Mail Business newspaper here to wrap up the corner. And the article is called Paradigm Shift in Korea's Housing Market. First, taking a closer look at the article. The aftermath of the record low key interest rate has shown a rapid increase in real estate deals. Seems that the housing market has turned for the better for buyers, as more and more people in their 30s and 40s, they have started to buy houses. And if we go to this graph here, they seem to favor small to mid-sized houses that are located near their work areas. The graph depicts the rising rates of apartment prices just this past March. As you can see, the rates are the highest for medium and small-sized houses. And that was a look at our local headlines this Friday. Now coming up are the stock numbers from Thursday.
It's the first Friday of April, and it is going to be a wet one today.
All right, we are getting some scattered showers throughout Seoul and the surrounding province. We also have some thunderstorm activity overnight.
Right.
We'll go to Chun Sung-cho and see when it's actually going to clear out. Sung-cho, good morning.
Good morning to you, Sung-cho.
Good morning, guys. The rain indeed has come to an end, and the conditions are slowly clearing out in most regions. And despite the gusty winds, thunder, and lightning all night long, farmers across Korea should wake up this morning happy and relieved from all the rain that fell overnight. It was some much-needed rain after all, after weeks and months of dry conditions. And it was quite a lot of rain for the spring season as well. Seoul received about 30 millimeters, and some areas in Jeju even saw over 100 millimeters of heavy showers pouring down about 10 millimeters per hour. The central regions especially hadn't had any significant precipitation for quite some time, so the rain likely quenched the thirst of dry farmlands and crops overnight. And on top of that, we have another round of nationwide showers coming up late tomorrow, so it seems like this week is just full of good news on the weather front. The only thing that you gotta watch out for is dense, thick patches of fog, reducing visibility in some places. So drivers should definitely watch out for the wet conditions and foggy conditions when they're driving this morning. And overcast skies and these foggy conditions are set to clear out as we move into the afternoon. And with that, let's take a closer look at today's temperature readings around the nation. Currently, it's 8 degrees Celsius in Seoul, and mercury levels will rise all the way up to 17 in the afternoon. Things will really warm up down south with Daegu and Busan peaking at 23 and 22 respectively. This is all from me with the weather forecast, and I'll be back later in the show for a peek at a tulip festival that's going on here in Yongin.
A big step forward in the world's efforts to reach a nuclear accord with Iran this morning. We'll connect with our Eunice Kim, who's following the developments for us at the News Center. Hello there, Eunice.
Good morning.
Now, world powers and Iran have found common ground on an outline agreement to shape the future of Tehran's nuclear program.
Yeah, that's right, Min-jung. U.S. President Barack Obama calling this a historic understanding that greenlights and sets the tone for the drafting of a more comprehensive agreement that is to come in 3 months' time. Let's go ahead and begin with that announcement that came down just a few hours ago.
Today, we have taken a decisive step. We have reached solutions on key parameters of a joint comprehensive plan of action. The political determination, the goodwill, and the hard work of all parties made it possible.
As President and Commander-in-Chief, I have no greater responsibility than the security of the American people. And I am convinced that if this framework leads to a final comprehensive deal, it will make our country, our allies, and our world safer.
And Iran's Foreign Minister Mohammad Zarif at that announcement with EU's Mogherini called the framework a win-win outcome. It comes after a long 8 days of marathon negotiations among the 7 major powers, a possible record number of all-night talks among senior-level officials, including those between America's top diplomat John Kerry and Zarif in the final stretch. But it is not over yet. With this political agreement to move forward, negotiators will begin writing the text of the final accord based on the framework that is to be completed by the end of June.
Right, and the details of the framework are only beginning to come in. The economic sanctions on Iran was a major sticking point. How has that been ironed out, Eunice?
Yeah, and this is a point that Iran's foreign minister was optimistic on. EU nations and the U.S. have agreed to lift sanctions in phases after the UN confirms that Iran is in fact complying with its promises. And if and when it is found that it is not complying, the sanctions will be able to be snapped back, as they say. Now, under the framework, IAEA monitors will be given full access to all of Iran's nuclear facilities. That's pretty unprecedented. Tehran has promised to cut back on its uranium enrichment capacity as well. Uranium, of course, can be used to create a nuclear warhead. It will cut its installed centrifuges used to make uranium by some 2/3. Secretary of State Kerry said Iran has confirmed that the amount of time it would take to make a nuclear weapon with the existing arrangement is about 3 months. And with this newly installed agreed terms, that will be grown to about a year. Iran's foreign minister said the agreement will show that Tehran's nuclear program is exclusively peaceful, has always been, and always will.
Well, let's cap off our segment, the global update, on a lighter note, Eunice. And as it turns out, for those observing, it's the Easter weekend this weekend, and people around the world are celebrating it in their own ways.
Right. Let's go ahead and begin at the Vatican, shall we? And what seems to have become an annual tradition, Pope Francis marked Holy Thursday by traveling to a prison in Rome to celebrate the Mass of our Lord's Supper with inmates. Reflective of Jesus' washing of his apostles' feet at the Last Supper, Pope Francis washed the feet of 12 male and female inmates at Rabibia prison. There was also a baby among the crowd with one of the inmates, so the Pope washed and kissed the son's little feet as well. There you see him. And he also asked for all of their prayers that he too might be cleansed of his filth. Now, in the United States, for many, Easter is equated to Easter eggs, and here are some with very intricate designs by a Polish man who never went to art school but has been decorating eggs for 15 years. He said his eggs were meant to arouse emotion like sadness, joy, and hope, quote, to bring forth the feeling that we are not alone in the universe.
You know, regardless of your religion, I think that chocolate, I want to bite into that. Yummy.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Eunice, for that.
You bet.
Still ahead on Korea Today, with their new mini album, girl group FIESTAR is back on stage and has catapulted into fame. They're getting their big breakthrough 4 years into their debut, and Denny Hong gets to spend some time with them on the streets of Hongdae.
Now, great news for car lovers out there. The 2015 Seoul Motor Show kicks off today at Kintex in the city of Goyang in Gyeonggi-do Province.
Vroom, vroom, right? 33 brands will be participating this year, including 9 Korean brands and 24 foreign brands as well. Seo Mi-sorang joins us for more on this. Good morning.
Good morning, that's right. And this year's show, it's called Experience the Technology, Feel the Artistry. And there are 33 new cars on display, most of them for the first time in the world. So let's have a look. This year, many of them are being displayed for the first time. Now, of Korean brands, Hyundai Motor will display the Enduro, which is a 2-door crossover utility vehicle. It's a concept car, and according to the company, it's designed to combine the look of an SUV with that of a rally motorcycle. Now, the concept car uses a turbocharged 2.0-liter engine paired with a 7-speed dual-clutch gearbox to achieve 260 horsepower. Meanwhile, Renault's Samsung showcased the EOLED for the first time in Asia. It can drive up to 100 kilometers per liter on the NEDC, or New European Driving Cycle basis, and emits only 22 grams of carbon dioxide per kilometer, so it's definitely an eco-friendly vehicle.
I usually go and just check out the designs of the cars and maybe the colors.
The colors.
But really,
Very
like car
important.
fanatics
Or
go
some
for the
people.
auto parts.
Right,
They go
right.
and check out the auto parts, which I really don't understand why.
Right, so the one attraction is the finished cars, and I guess the other one will be the ladies. But the third attraction is the auto parts, like you mentioned, for people who like tuning their cars up. And This time there are 150 parts companies as well as dozens of tuned-up cars on display as well. So there's something for everyone there. Moving on, according to a recent survey, more than half of Korean teenagers said that they don't want to look like their parents. So mobile research company Open Survey polled 500 teenagers between the ages of 10 and 15 nationwide and asked them this question. What do you not want to inherit from your parents? Number one response was appearance. Isn't that sad?
That hurts.
So it includes like facial appearance, body shape, height, and so on. 57% chose this, followed by intelligence, 23%, financial awareness at 20%.
So you want to get the money, but not the appearance.
Imagine your daughter saying that.
I'll be very, very offended.
Very offended. So when they were probed further about appearance, 53%, so more than a half, said that height is important in life. They cited reasons such as the society is more welcoming of taller people for self-confidence and self-assurance, and the third reason was for better interpersonal relationships. So we can tell that teenagers are rather fixated on external appearances, but experts say that this isn't surprising because adolescence is a time when they're undergoing rapid physical changes and also have a newfound interest in the opposite sex. And wrapping up on the medical front, Korean scientists have confirmed that even premature babies can still reap the benefits of colostrum. Now, we all know that colostrum is very important for the health of newborns, but it's because it's very high in nutrients and antibodies. But for extremely low birth weight infants, they simply can't swallow anything, and even tube feeding isn't an option. So in this case, many doctors actually swab the colostrum on the inside of the baby's cheeks instead. And the team at the Seoul National University Hospital recently confirmed that this swabbing is very effective. They found that compared to control cases, premature babies who had this swabbing had 3 times more antibodies, 4 times more lactoferrin, which is an important antimicrobial, and half the amount of pro-inflammatory agents. So all in all, babies who had this swabbing had a much stronger immune system and were less likely to develop autoimmune diseases later in life.
I'm telling you, ladies, breastfeed. It's important.
Right, the way nature designed it.
Right. All right. Thank you so much, Misorang.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, our Songcho had earlier mentioned checking out the Tulip Festival. Well, I hope she didn't have to travel all the way to the Netherlands for that.
No, she didn't travel to the Netherlands, but she did travel to Everland. She'll be among a bunch of flowers. Let's go over to her right now. Back to you, Songcho.
Hi guys again. So yes, when you think of the spring season, the first thing that comes to mind is of course flowers. So here at Everland, there is a tulip festival going on right now. We've just started seeing flowers blossoming here and there around Seoul, popping out their beautiful colors like forsythias, magnolias, and cherry blossoms. But if that's not enough, then you can come here to the Everland for the Tulip Festival that's ongoing until 26th this month. I mean, take a look at this beautiful site with countless tulips just everywhere. I look around, turn around in all different directions, and all I see is tulips, tulips, tulips. I mean, I even see installations and sculptures made out of tulips over there as well. So the officials here told me that there are over 1.2 million of them here in total and over 100 different varieties. If you look closely, you'll notice that they all look different. They all vary with different sizes, colors, and textures as well. Ooh, there you can see the rain droplets still on the petals. It looks so beautiful. I mean, I wish the weather was not as gloomy as today, but honestly, this isn't so bad either. There's just really something romantic about it. There are thick patches, dense patches of fog blanketing the entire place, and the flowers and the ground are still wet from the rain that fell overnight, and the air feels damp and cold against my skin. And then also there's this really great, amazing, earthy, wet scent mixed in with a flowery fragrance in the air. So something about all of this is just really romantic to me. And speaking of romantic, do you know what's even more romantic? Enjoying all of this at night. So the park decided to extend its opening hours until 10 p.m. so that people can come here and make special memories with their friends, family, and loved ones. Even during the evening hours. So people, they'll not only be able to see these beautiful flowers, even looking more beautiful with dim lights lit upon them, but they'll also be able to see tens of thousands of LED roses. So that's definitely something that you want to check out before it's too late. And here is a special themed station over here. And here it says, dress room zone. So there are mirrors over here and mannequins just dressed with flowery dresses, and you can take a picture right here. How do I look? Do I look pretty and flowery? How more springy can you get? All right, so like I said earlier in my weather report, it is going to start raining from tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow night onwards. So if you do want to come here and visit here for this coming weekend, then you definitely want to take that advantage of that window of opportunity up until then. And this has been 전성기를, Korea Today. Have a fantastic weekend, everyone.
And TGI Friday, everyone, as we kick things off with the 2015 ANA Inspiration, the first LPGA major of the season, which teed off its first round of the event. And with so many golfers looking to claim the top prize, there are two players on the spotlight. Now, first off, for Hall of Famer Park Se-ri, who finished tied for fourth last year, it's a chance for her to achieve a career Grand Slam, as she have won the LPGA Championship 3 times, the U.S. Women's Open once, and the British Open back in 2001. But looking to outplay her is teenage sensation Lydia Ko, who seeks her first LPGA major and can become the youngest major winner at a young age of 17. Now, with the IBK Altos and the OK Savings Bank winning this year's V-League Championship titles in the Women's and Men's League, respectively, their next big quest, beating the Japanese champions. In an annual matchup which started back in 2006 is back in action after last year's event was canceled. But for volleyball fans in the nation, it's a chance to see the two champions in Korea face off against the Japanese V-League champions, as the IBK Altos and the OK Savings Bank will take part in the event on April 12th in Seoul at the Changchung Gymnasium. And speaking of champions, the Ulsan Mobis Phoebus look to get a 3-0 series lead in the KBL Championship Series on Thursday night as they went up against Wonju Dongwoo Promi, who desperately looked to rebound from an 0-2 deficit. But Mobis with other plans here, trying to end this series early as they take a comfortable 40-29 lead going into halftime. But with Dongwoo changing up their game plan in the second half, they cut the deficit down to 53-52, hoping to continue the hot shooting in the fourth quarter. But with point guard Yang Dong-gun tearing up from the paint with 23 points without a single foul, Mobis would run away with this game 80-72 as they're now one win away from their third straight championship title. Now, the Suwon KT Wiz might be struggling their first season in the KBO League so far, but they've already gone viral all around the world for their unique ceremonial first pitch. And it didn't involve any rhythmic gymnasts. Now, with the Suwon KT Wiz kicking off their first KBO League game last Saturday, check out this ceremonial first pitch, a fireball which started off at the center field screens and made its way for a strike at the home plate. And while it did well, everyone in Korea, it's also gone viral overseas as a number of media outlets have been talking about the hot first pitch. Well, hard to beat that one, right? Well, that's going to wrap it up for me now. This has been SJ with your sports needs.
All right, today on K Entertainment, we're going to be meeting with a fierce girl group named FIESTAR, who's gaining popularity in China. And our lucky guy, Denny Hong, had a chance to sit down with them. You are so lucky. Millions of guys would kill for that job.
Well, of course, last week we did talk a little bit about the trend of guerrilla performances. And so we mentioned FIESTAR in that group. And so we had the opportunity to meet with them and talk about their recent popularity as well as their success in their, name recognition in China. So let's take a look. Last weekend, the opening ceremony to kick off Korea's baseball season did take place, and a popular venue for top celebrities to fire up the crowd for the games. This time around, girl group FIESTAR took the stage.
안녕하세요. 피에스타입니다.
안녕하세요. 오늘 오랜만에 야구장에 공연하러 왔어요.
Only the most popular names of the year are able to make an appearance here, with groups such as Girls' Generation and 4 Minute attending in the past. It has been 4 years since FIESTAR debuted, but only now are they getting their big breakthrough, and I got to spend some time with them. We're outside of Hongdae right now, and we actually have a girl group with us that's been rising in popularity over recent years, and so we're going to be meeting them and kind of hanging out and walking around and doing our interview. So right now we have FIESTAR with us. So when was the last time you were here at Hongdae?
저희가 요새 게릴라로 이제 공연을 돌고 있어요. 그래서 홍대도 돌았고 신천도 돌았고 되게 여러 곳을 돌아다니면서 공연을 하고 있습니다.
Okay. FIESTAR made their recent comeback with a mini album 8 months after their previous one, and unlike some of their past songs that were charged with more powerful vocal performances, their new title track, You're Pitiful, brings on a new provocative tone. Following their explosive popularity, the members are busy around the clock, so we planned a fun, relaxing day. So we talked about your guerrilla performance for a while. Can you tell us more about your experience with that on the street? 그러니까 그거를 어차피 게릴라 할 때는 반응이 어땠는지, 어떻게 그냥 준비를 했는지.
컴백 전에 공식적인 방송 활동 전에 보여줄 수 있는 다양한 어떤 게 있을까 하고 생각한 결과 이제 게릴라 길거리 공연을 하게 됐고, 좀 더 관객들 이제 팬들이랑 같이 가까이 할수록 친밀도도 높아지고 조금 더 저희도 알아봐 주시고 더 되게 좋은 반응이 있었던 것 같아요.
Last month, FIESTAR rose to renewed fame by holding guerrilla gigs on the streets of Hongdae, Sinchon, and Myeongdong, even soaring to the top of Portal search engine charts, further confirming their newfound name recognition.
아직 괜찮아요. 아기 라인이었어요.
This was on full display at Hongdae as well, with many fans flocking to see the group. So we did move out from the more noisier street level to a more quieter area. So you've been experiencing a lot of popularity recently. It's been skyrocketing. And so can you tell us about how you are dealing with this experience and what does it feel like?
저희가 이번에 공백 기간이 굉장히 길었어요. 8개월 정도가 돼서 사실 걱정하고 컴백을 했는데 다행이라고도 생각하고 너무 기분 좋게 활동하고 있어요.
Now, also on your new album, besides the title song, there are, of course, many others. Can you tell us which one is your favorite off of the album, outside of your title?
저는 블랙라벨 미니 앨범의 트랙 5번째 Today라는 곡을 썼고, 작사 같은 경우에는 제가 연습생 시절에 겪었던 그냥 힘들 때마다 써놓던 이런 일기장에 있는 글귀들을 이제 다 모아서 하나의 곡으로 탄생시킨 곡이에요. 네.
Do you have it?
네, 제가 오늘을 잠시 들고 다녔어요.
I see something.
네.
It's a studio. They wanted
그래서
us to
제가 처음 공개예요. 시크릿. 이게 그 투데이 가사가 나왔던 거예요. 그러니까 약간 좀 되게 슬픈 것도 있어요. 막 나는 또 다시 또 걷죠. 막 또 다른 나를 찾고 싶어. 왜 여기까지 온 걸까? 막.
Yeah, I'm surprised you showed us her diary.
2009년.
And as an industry standard, the choreography is often just as important as the song, and finding a new way to set their performance apart from the rest, this time they brought in chairs to the stage to highlight their smooth and engaging moves.
에피소드는 솔직히 뭐 따로 없었던 것 같아요. 따로 없는데 저희는 굉장히 많이 넘어졌어요. 의자에서 굉장히 많이 떨어지고 굉장히 많이 넘어지고. 근데 안무 자체가 의자춤이다 보니까 사실 하이힐을 신고 의자를 올라가면 사고가 날 수도 있거든요. 그걸 연습하느라 저희가 운동도 하고요. 다리 힘을 길러야 해서 다리 힘에 힘이 빠져버리면 쓰러지고 넘어지고 하니까.
Considering that you actually have male dancers in your video, so could we actually do a demonstration of the choreography for
Oh,
fans?
wow.
Great
You
call.
just
You know, it was a little embarrassing, but I gave it a try.
Oh my goodness. Denny.
Something very suave about it.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you.
감동받았어요.
All right, so that was embarrassing. Now, one of the things that Fiestar is known for, and you mentioned it before as well too, while you're writing the songs off of the album, that you have a lot of friends in the industry as well, like IU and Black as well. So can you tell us about some of your friends in the industry too?
연습생 시절에 만난 친구들이 이제 데뷔한 친구들이 많아요. 그래서 뭐 아이유나 천둥이나 뭐 하이포 성구라는 친구까지 해서 이제 친하게 지내고 있는데 최근에도 연락도 자주 하고 그렇게 지내고 있어요. 루 언니도 있지 않아요?
맞아요. 저희 차이나 나인이라고 해요.
차이나 라인?
네, 나인이라고 하고요. 같이 모이기는 힘들고요. 근데 각자 스케줄 없을 때 끼리끼리 모아서 되는 사람 같이 밥도 먹고 쇼핑도 하고 차도 마시고 잘 만나고 있어요.
In a recent global poll, they ranked number 2, surging ahead of many established singers, and they're especially receiving a lot of support from fans in China.
중국에서 중국 팬들 많이 응원해 주셔서 너무 고마워요. 앞으로 아마도 중국 가지 않을까요? 가고 싶지? 가고 싶어요. 그래서 저희도 열심히 준비해서 중국 가서 중국 팬들이랑 같이 만나서 뭐 파티도 하고 공연도 하고 기대하시죠?
네, 저희 피에스타가 첫 번째 미니 앨범 블랙 라벨로 컴백했고요. 타이틀곡 짠해로 열심히 활동하고 있는데요. 저희 짠해 많이 들어주시고요. 피에스타 많이 사랑해주세요. 지금까지 피에스타였습니다. 감사합니다.
For me, it wasn't until recently I heard about Fiestar, and I probably believe that a lot of people think that they're newcomers to the K-pop scene, but actually I heard that they debuted several years ago.
Yeah, for them it has been 4 years since they debuted, but again, it takes some time for different groups to gain that recognition, and it took them 4 years for that. But if you look at their training history, it's been a long time that they've been in preparation for this as well too. Hemi, for example, she spent 7 years, well, nearly 7 years in training, and that's actually where she met groups like, Chungdu from M Black as well as IU, because they were training together at the time before they debuted each, so that's why they're still close friends. Also, we have Lindsay, spent about 5-6 years at YG Entertainment, and Chinese member Chaolu, she actually has been working towards a singing career since she was 17 years old, which is when she won a newcomer award at a program in China itself, and so there she made the transition from there here to Korea as well. So because of their preparation phase, I think there is a lot of high expectation for them too.
I mean, in the case of Fiestar, they didn't really do any overseas promotions, but they focused mainly on the Korean market. Yep. And somehow their popularity leaked out to China and other places.
That would be the beauty of the internet in many ways, right? So yes, when they actually had a recent poll, about 140,000 overseas members were polled by a group called K-pop M-Wave, and Fiestar was voted the second most popular searched group, right behind Shinhwa, which is actually very surprising for a lot of people because they beat out like Girls' Day, Kain, and Super Junior as well too. And I think the main popularity behind that is because of their videos on YouTube showing their performances on the street, and so that increased their recognition for people wanting to call them in to perform in their own countries.
So what's next for Fiestar?
Well, currently, Korea. So they are performing here. Now, a lot of things have to align up properly. The desire is there to perform overseas, but they still have to make sure that everything promotion-wise and gig-wise has to line up. So they are planning to go. A group from China came over to film them here and to show that, I guess, part of their filming in China as well too, to increase the promotional value. So when they do have the concert going there, they'll actually have some, promotion that's already done beforehand. So they do have plans. We'll see if it happens right now or not, but right now, just Korea is the place to be for seeing Fiestar.
Well, looks like the only way from there is to go up, right?
Indeed.
All right, sounds great, Denny. Thank you.
No problem.
거긴 no limit 겪어봤어 그게 지금 내가 리밋이 없는 이유 내 추연함 거기에 내 텅 빈 가슴에 지수의 달콤한 그는 아이스크림 케이크 특별해진 오늘의 어울림 두 사랑은 한 사람보다 깊어 삼촌들 용돈 뺏는 깡패 이걸로 팍던 바람 샴페인 사뿐히 밟아 빨간 카펫 남자들 숨을 참네 멋진 척 참네
One of the side dishes that's always on a dining table is kimchi. And I'm not sure if we could even call it a side dish because you can make a lot of main dishes with it as well, right?
Of course.
All right, Joe McPherson, the Zen of kimchi, joins us.
Good morning, Joe.
Good morning. Yes, so it's really difficult for a particular dish to be so well embedded in a country's culture for so long. And definitely kimchi is that for Korea. It's been dubbed the soul food of Korea. So we're going to take a closer look at kimchi's history and much more. For countless years, kimchi has shared a long-standing history with Korea. It has claimed the top spot as one of the country's most loved dishes. And even today, it is an essential part of Korean cuisine. Yet despite this, many people do not know that many details about this wonderful fermented dish. So today, we're going to explore everything related to kimchi. Koreans first started enjoying kimchi after the farming culture was established and grains became a staple during the ancient years. The idea was to provide more balance to the diet that was heavy on grains, and it was also a way to preserve different types of vegetables by pickling them and storing them in preparation for the long, cold winter. During the more recent Joseon dynasty, more ingredients were added and different types of kimchi began to emerge. With the introduction of spicy peppers during the Japanese invasion of Korea, the spicy red kimchi now known to the masses took form. With most of the ingredients of kimchi being vegetables, the dish is high in fiber, vitamins, and minerals. It was even dubbed one of the world's 5 superfoods by the US publication Health, along with Greek yogurt and lentils. One of the keys to that is the friendly bacteria that's created from the process of fermentation.
We've discovered lactobacillus that helps prevent transmission of the bird flu, and other research teams within Korea have confirmed similar results. At our lab, we also believe certain bacteria have effects on cancer, and are studying those elements. The greatest strength that kimchi has will be that the good bacteria in it help curb obesity and constipation.
Since the old days, kimchi has been stored in clay pots and buried in the ground. This helps preserve the good bacteria and the taste as well. This is why people were able to enjoy their kimchi for long stretches of time even without a refrigerator. It's not only the creation of the dish, but the method of storage that highlights past wisdom.
The temperature at which you can put the bacteria in kimchi in a dormant state will be a -1 or 2 degrees. If you bury the pot underground, the temperature or even lower temperatures can be maintained. That's why the good bacteria can stay dormant without dying out. This allows the quality of the kimchi to stay intact and last for long periods of time.
One of the things you can't leave out when talking about kimchi is the kimjang culture. That's the making and sharing of kimchi. This usually took place after the year's harvest was over around October, and people made kimchi in huge bulks. The kimchi made during this period would be the most essential part of people's meals during the winter. This long-standing tradition of making and sharing kimchi was even recognized by UNESCO as an intangible cultural heritage of humanity in 2013, with its value being upheld around the world. These days, a lot of events and festivals take place centering around kimjang, highlighting the community spirit Koreans love so much to share. As families get smaller and more parents are earning double incomes, less people are making kimchi these days, and so enters the mass kimchi making industry. Now, we're on the grounds of a very famous kimchi factory that is known for its variety as well as its quality. With endless orders pouring in by the day, there's no time to rest here. Depending on the order, the type of kimchi they make here differs.
We use ingredients fresh from local providers to make our kimchi, so you can enjoy kimchi that is best in season.
The method of making kimchi changes depending on seasonal ingredients and local specialties in each region. That's why there are some 200 types of kimchi overall, with tastes all unique that pair differently with particular dishes. In Korea, spring is in full force, so instead of the hot and spicy kimchi, baek kimchi or white kimchi, as well as yeolmu kimchi made with young summer radish are some of the best sellers for their crunchy, clean, and refreshing tastes. Some of the other steady-selling types on the list would be the standard baechu kimchi made with cabbage, gakdugi made with radish, and mugunji, otherwise known as aged kimchi.
This is mugunji, which has been aged for 2 years. Let's try this out. It's really sour, but it's so complex. It starts off really sour, then it has this deeper flavor as you eat it. That's really cool.
This is a restaurant famous for its kimchi jjigae, one of the most classic dishes made with kimchi. The secret behind the taste here is their aged kimchi, mugunji. After making their own kimchi, the restaurant ages it for 3 years before putting it on the table.
We compared kimchi that was aged for 2 years and 3 years and discovered that the kimchi of 3 years was the best. The texture is good, the color is good, and it has that old aged kimchi taste that our ancestors used to enjoy. So we keep our kimchi for 3 years before we bring it out.
In a large iron pot, they put in meat, 3-year-old kimchi, and seasoning, and boil it for a long stretch, creating a deep, rich taste drawn out from simple ingredients.
Wow. Again, sour, but in a good way. It kicks you in the teeth. It's like a machine gun on your taste buds. This is so good. It's so rich. And for me, the best part, these fatty bits of pork right here.
The taste of kimchi changes not only depending on the ingredients and method of making, but also depending on the aging, giving it so many different flavors to use for various dishes. More recently, it was introduced as the soul food of Koreans on the New York Times, creating some buzz back home. The fermented dish has now won recognition from others overseas as one of Korea's classic and healthy food choices. Many tourists pencil in the kimjang experience on their itinerary when visiting Korea. Last year, some 2,000 Chinese visitors took part in one kimjang event, drawing a lot of attention. As kimchi becomes more well-known around the world, the dish is now breaking out of conventional recipes and is being fused in with other cuisines, such as kimchi pasta and kimchi pizza, giving it more to work with to appeal to global tastes. It is no longer simply a dish of Korea, but an essential element of the country's spirit. Kimchi carries a nation's history, culture, and character, and it will continue to make leaps in its development to capture the taste buds of many around the world.
So there's some 200 different types of kimchi depending on the style as well as the region. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the different styles and how they differ, Jome Kimchi?
You keep coming up with new names for me. I love this.
Zen Joe.
Yeah. Well, actually, you can divide the regions into north, central, and south. The further north you go, it tends to get less salty and a little milder because of the mountains and the colder climate. There's less jokgal used in that, which is salted seafood. And then you get south, you're surrounded by oceans, so you're going to get a lot more of that salted shrimp or whatever salted seafood into your kimchi. So that would be a main regional difference if you're going to be very general about it.
And I've noticed that a lot of foreigners warm up to kimchi pretty quickly, and maybe because they have pickled vegetables in the Western cuisine. There's pickled cucumber, pickled radish. What would you say is, and they call it's their kimchi. So what do you think is the difference?
Well, I would say as opposed to the pickles you get in a jar, there's different types of fermentation going on. Pickles tend to have acetic fermentation, which requires oxygen to ferment. And kimchi uses lactic acid fermentation, which is an anaerobic environment. I'm getting really nerdy right now. Which no oxygen. So that would be one of the main differences. Also, the types of ingredients used. We know in kimchi we tend to use more Korean ingredients. We use our chili powder and our jokka, like I said, the salted shrimp. We tend to use those a little more.
Sure.
And the traditional way of fermenting kimchi is putting it in a huge ceramic jar called tok and burying it the lower part in the ground to keep all the good bacteria in a perfect temperature and humidity. So, but what about when we make it at home? Are there any tips that you can give us?
Well, kimchi 냉장고.
The refrigerator.
Get the refrigerator. But if you want to really keep it from going a little off, keep it as far away from oxygen as possible. Just keep it under the water. I would suggest get a plastic bag and just squeezing all the air out of it and put it in one of these locked containers because you don't want that smell to seep out through the fridge. I personally like the smell in my fridge, but no, you might want it in a locked container. Just keep all that air out and you keep the good stuff in.
Okay, kimchi has several different levels of pungency, I would say, and it's just right. And then as riper as it gets, the more pungent it becomes and the more stronger, right? And then when you get to the shin kimchi, that's when you make the kimchi jjigae with it, right? So there's a lot of people who don't warm up to kimchi as quickly as some, right?
I will give you my personal recommendation, and this is from my scientific observations, is cook your kimchi before you try it. A lot of people like cooked kimchi.
That's a great way to introduce the children to kimchi because make them kimchi jjigae, for example, a pancake, and they'll love it and they'll warm up to kimchi.
It sounds like we both are coming from experience on that one.
As parents.
Because that's how we've been trying to get our daughter to like kimchi, is we've been cooking it, putting it into little things, but also playing with introducing in different foods, kimchi fries, kimchi tacos. That's also a fun way to introduce people to kimchi in a way that's a little more familiar to them.
All right, sounds great. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, time now to wrap up the show and say goodbye to our viewers for the very last time.
Well, this is where our journey ends, but our station, Arirang TV, has many new programs lined up for you starting next Monday, so please do tune in for that.
And we'd like to thank our producers and staff, all the people behind the scenes, and most of all, our viewers.
So on behalf of everyone on Korea Today, we thank you so much for watching. Do take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.